All right, thank you. Thank you, Willie. Everybody must have got their cup filled this morning, didn't they? Either that or we went out and, well, I watched the Green Bay Packers beat the tar out of the Denver Broncos, but I'm here. And I studied a little at the same time. I know nobody's interested except me and Greg, but I think Aaron Rodgers is probably going to be the greatest quarterback that's ever hit the league. He's probably going to make Tom Brady and Brett Favre look like beginners before it's over with. I don't know. He's really good, though. All right. I don't have anything to read. I could read. If I got a letter over here I have not read. She carried all my reading material away this morning. We beat her after church. All right. All right. Well, no, I've read that. I'll just give the announcements. We'll get right into the lesson. I got a lot of things to say.
How's Messiah doing?
Messiah is a friend of Messiah's came this morning, and he used to come here. And he said that Messiah's trying to be positive, but they don't know if he'll walk again. And we do have a motorized wheelchair that's been donated to him. So if I can get a hold of him, he doesn't have a phone. His phone's been taken out. It's got to be very traumatic for him to go through what he's going through. He's about 6 foot or 6'1", something like that, and he was going to get a scholarship to UT to play basketball. He always told me what a great. He said, "I'm really good." He said, "I can slam dunk as good as anybody," and he's supposed to be was a great ball player. He said, I believe that when somebody tells me I'm really good at this, I always believe him. That's not boasting if a man knows he can do it. And this is going to be really hard for him because he won't be playing any more basketball. And he's very athletic, very quick-witted, very glib, very funny, lots of fun. This will really slow him down. But he was working 3 jobs, and he went to sleep on a job, and he went to sleep in a car coming home from one job to the other and ran into a telephone pole, and it injured his spinal cord down on the bottom of his spinal cord. He hit a post and then he hit a brick wall. And he was always so chipper and bright and fun and funny, and I always think of him when I see those dreadlock, those thin curls, because he had a head full of them. And I saw some football players this afternoon playing. They had them sticking out of their helmets. I think of Messiah every time I see it. And just maybe we could get together and go down and see him, some of us. We need to do that. It's right down here in Madison. And this is the will of God. That's what you have to learn. You have to learn whenever something like that happens and you become, he's going to be looks like a paraplegic. And it's just what God wants. I tell him that every time I see him. It said it's what God wants. He didn't want you to be walking around. Not for now, anyway. And it's really hard to take something. This is where the sovereignty of God steps in when something like this happens. So he needs strength to face reality instead of trying to dream that something's going to happen that probably won't. And he talks positive all the time and tries to. You can't talk yourself into it. That's Kenneth Copelandism, You can't talk yourself into being healed. If he is, if it happens, it happens. If it don't, it don't. That's the way it works. And I hate to see a young man that age. He's about 27, I guess, and very athletic. And I just hate to see something like that happen to a young man like that. But it's the will of God. I don't hate it in that sense. I just thank God for His sovereign will. That's what we have to do. But I'll bring his phone number up here and put it back here on the board so some people can call him. And he's right down here in Madison. And we can go down there and see him. We need to do that. Don't forget our television in Nashville. We're all over the Nashville area. We're on channel 176, Comcast, every Monday night and Saturday night at 10 o'clock, every Wednesday morning and Friday morning at midnight. On channel 39, every Thursday night at 11, and then we're on channel 3 in Hendersonville, Tuesday evening at 5, Thursday night at 7, and radio every Saturday morning, WNQM at 8 o'clock. And don't forget our needy. We need your support of the poor. This is for them and nobody else but them. I never asked for money for the ministry. I believe God will supply, and people will be convicted to give to the ministry, but we have to remind you to give to the poor. We've got some people that are extremely just on the verge of poverty stricken. And we got some that are, and we got some that's barely living above just barely over the poverty line. They can't, if something happens to their car, they can't fix it. If something happens to their, whatever they need, their air conditioner, they can't fix it. If something happens to their heating system, they can't fix it. And what we try to do is give them grocery money, gasoline money, through cards, through MasterCards. You get a $25, $50 MasterCard or Visa card, either at the bank or one of the stores. You can get Walmart cards. You can buy gasoline with Walmart cards as well as food and toiletries inside. And so if you want to give one of these or the other, they need your help. We got a bunch of people like that, and we give them money. I give out money and cards every week. Not one, but several. And this is for the needy. This is our obligation. The Lord tells us that. And we need to take care of our own. They don't need to be out here on welfare. And even if you're on welfare, there is no disgrace in that, but we need to give them as much as we can. There's some people I wish I could give them $1,000 a month. And I'm not out here to hand out money to bums, people looking for a free lunch. Don't come up to me when you're capable of working. You just won't work, because I'll find out, and I won't. I always investigate people before I give them money or cards. I know who they are. I know what they're making. I know they can't afford things. But those of you that give the food cards and gas cards, I really appreciate it. All you have to do is go to the bank, go to Walmart, one of the drugstores, and they'll have a rack with the cards on it. You just pick up a card and go to the checkout counter and tell them you want to put X amount of dollars on the card, $25, $50 on the card, and they'll put it on there and send it to us, and I give it right straight to these needy people. There's some people that want to come here and they don't even have money to buy gas to come to church. So be aware of that. We also have our ministry kitchen. It's a pantry for the needy, and that's for people around the Nashville area. If you're outside of Nashville, somewhere long distance, it's better if you'll send a card. Or you can send cash and we'll buy a card with it. Just say this is for the needy, or instead of a card, I'm not able to get somewhere to buy the card. So do that and I'll make sure that they get it. And also we have missionaries down in Ecuador, Scott and Steve Worry. And they are preaching predestination to the natives in Ecuador, and to their children mainly, because the natives are drunk every day and they don't want to hear anything. And the people of the village, they're down at the end of a dirt road just before you go into the jungle, and it's a little village down there. It probably would look like jungle all the way to us, but They say that they're starting a school. They need our help. And it takes money to live there and to preach. So be aware of that, and we appreciate your concern and consideration. These are the only missionaries I've ever pushed for to give money to, because they are preaching these doctrines that I preach here: predestination, sovereignty of God, daily cross, death to self, self-denial, and predestination. And God doesn't love everybody. And Christmas and Easter are paganism. So if anybody preaches that, I'm for them.